here for one thing. One thing. One team. Let me go ahead and crank it up real quick. Oh shit, I didn't even know Psycho had went live. I'd have tapped in. Damn. I didn't think nobody was live, man. But we'll do what we do anyway. Let's go with it. Uh, what we want to hear, man? Come on with it. Let me hit this real quick. Let me think about something y'all ain't heard in a minute. What's something I ain't heard in a minute? You know what? I do like that though. Let's see. I'm gonna rap though.
Inspector.
Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. Thought I was touched by an angel, that was God's hand. Measure the star at every angle, that was God's plan. On my bullshit, then it's robbing. The outside looking in, I'm the odd man. Must have made an impression on your conscience. Even through it, you kept me as an option. Hope you don't catch me when I'm checking on your content. Open up your heart and we locked in. Baby, you could lose the key, now we locked in. And we don't need a locksmith. And you swear my type is toxic. I'm falling harder than a metamorphic rocket. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this. I know you coming when you say you on your way now. Niagara Falls, I feel it coming on its way down. Soaking wet when we play round. Splash pad at a playground. Ooh, I can't swim, it's like a lake now. And I can feel it in my face now. That tie hit when you face down. Diving in face first like I can't drown. Too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Ooh, too wrong don't make no right. I put my pride aside tonight for you, for you. Diamond high found this. Come through, be around this. Boom, boom, be around this. Come through, let me pound this.
There's no more stress to find, and I'm too far behind. And I love to let you go. I love to let you go. You're always on my mind.
Yeah, for leaving me to play the wizard and give you my chain. Yeah. you needed to get it, we're gonna put you on my chain. How about I hide in a place so you can come find me? How about we meet in the mind? How about we meet in the mind? How about I hide in a place so you can come find me? How about we meet in the mind? How about we meet in the
How about we pray hide and seek?
I freeze you from me just so you get these whips and you putting on my chain. Let me get a good grip, that rest he get splitting. I'm feeling it dripping on my face. You get on your back and you get the staff until I get hit with that highway. The way that you soak in high control, like Moses is my name. At the spot, the flow of the water don't stop, like Moses is my name. You was throwing it back, I gave it a smack, and I felt the splash like the tide came and put it in motion. I surfed the ocean and pray for the tide change. Climbing on top and you want like a clock, I swear everything stopping the time change. How about I hide in a place so you can come find me? How about we meet in the mind? How about we meet in the mind? How about I hide in a place so you can come find me? How about we meet in the mind? How about we meet in the
How about we pray hide and seek?
Bro, what's good? What you got around the
Only knowing where we meet the mind and time. It's a place only you know. No matter where, only a place where you can go. Nowhere to find me. You know where you meet me every time. No matter find me. You know where you meet me every time. I ain't in a place like I'm going every time. I'm in a place and know the meaning in the mind. How about I hide in a place so you can come find me? How about we meet in the mind? How about we meet in the mind? How about I hide in a place so you can come find me? How about we meet in the mind? How about we meet in the
How about we pray hide and seek?
And I'm too far behind. And I'd love to let you go. I'd love to let you go. You're always on my mind. I called you a thousand times. And I have to let you go. But I love you more and more.
Let's get this show on the road. What's happening with the family? What's good with everybody in the building? Y'all already know what time it is, man. This one is a Dark Side production. So y'all know we got to start it out with a all praises to the most beautiful goddess of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, Stemia, whose image is the most beautiful Whoopi Goldberg. Shout out to all my Babel builders in the building. Remember, if you are listening to this, together we are Babel. Let's build. So yeah, we got some shit to get into. We gonna push the envelope a little bit. You know, we're gonna push the envelope a little bit. Um, it has been a lot of panic over the the tariffs. Um, one individual, I'm most likely gonna end up cooking on this topic. And just so y'all know, I'm in debate mode right now too. One person I'm probably gonna end up cooking in on this topic. Just on the election and the policies and everything, it's probably going to end up being Domo, right? Just gonna be real. It's gonna probably end up being Domo. Um, I'm feeling a few debates with Domo this season. I'm not even gonna lie to you. All right, now I got a few debates on my mind. Uh, but you know, um, one of them being, we had the discussion on who is to blame for the outcome of the election. Um, and um, are we blaming voters for that, or are we blaming a shitty ran campaign? Like, let's just be real, ran by a shitty candidate. Like, so no, you know. Um, so we're gonna get into a few things. I'm finna drop this link. But like I said, we're gonna challenge the envelope a little bit. I got a feeling this might ruin things. I'm finna drop this link. But like I said, let me get that shit. Let me hit that shit. Y'all know how we do it, man. Only know one way to get away. Pop. Let's go and get this cracking. Shout out to Redacted.
Let's go! This is the future. It will.
Let's see here.
Welcome, everybody, to Redacted on this Monday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we tend to cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores. And right now, the mainstream media is losing.
Somebody put Domo might get cooked on this episode in the chat. He might not like what's getting ready to be said, but we shall see. And I don't know, one of these, something that might be said in this, I might be willing to go ahead and debate. I'm telling you right now. I'm sending niggas home. See, that's one thing we know for sure about the tournament is when to go home. Nigga, I'm sending somebody to fuck home. A few people. Just watch.
Losing its collective minds over Trump's tariffs and what this means for the economy. To listen to CNBC, MSNBC, CNN, all of the major Yahoo Finance, all of these, Bloomberg, they're all losing their minds over it, saying that, an economic nuclear winter is coming, basically, under Trump's tariffs. But it's interesting if you look at the poll numbers and you talk to those who live on Main Street in America, those who work at factories, those who are worried about losing their jobs to China. There's an entirely different narrative that's emerging, but the mainstream media won't cover it. So we're going to talk about that today here on the show.
We're also going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House. This is the second visit that Benjamin Netanyahu has made to the White House in just 2 months of Trump's administration. So is he going to come every month until he gets the war with Iran that he wants so badly? We're going to talk about what that agenda is. Why is Israel continually killing civilians and getting away with it, and Trump says nothing in the White House? Why do you think that is?
We're also going to talk about these protests over the weekend. I don't know if you know that in all 50 states across the United States, there was organized protests where hundreds, thousands of people in different towns came out to protest President Trump and Elon Musk. And the grabbing of American values, the grabbing of American democracy. They basically called it the grabbing of something. And they're worried that we're losing our democracy under Trump and Elon Musk. But who's behind these paid protests? And these protesters, when they're confronted with microphones in front of their faces, like, why are you here? They're like, what are you protesting? I don't know exactly what I'm here for. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about who's behind these paid protests. And actually, it may shock you. It may surprise you to find out who's behind.
Well, it's so interesting because they're the same liberal groups that wanted a dismantling of the system. So now that is actually happening, they're like, wait a minute, the system. We love the system. We wanted the system all along. And if you followed liberal politics, they hate free trade. They absolutely have wanted tariffs. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all the liberal icons, poster children, have wanted tariffs all along. So what exactly do they think they want right now? What is the intention?
Well, also, if you think about, like, what exactly are they protesting in terms of, so you're against, like, them carving out and going after government waste, fraud, and abuse? Like, I'm just confused exactly what you're upset about.
Right.
It's funny to see them protesting the fall of the stock market too, because like that's what Occupy was all about.
Well, that's what what their love of Luigi Mangione was all about. They're like, yes, we support Luigi.
Free Luigi. Now, this is where it gets interesting, right? And you do have to be careful when we talk about the panic, right? In the games that they play with the stock market. Because I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm finna try to clean up. I'm finna try to clean up in the stock market, right? I'm gonna tell you why. I'll give you an example, right? Bitcoin. A while back, during right before the election, or yeah, right before the election, right? We was doing the live stream. We had a brother named Chris on. He had the charts up on the screen, and pretty much we all was saying that Bitcoin was gonna go down after before and it was like I think it had hit 100 or it was getting ready to hit 100. It was like 90 something at that time. So it's gonna hit 100 and then it's gonna probably drop back down to like 60, like 69, 68. Some had it like 70s. Some had it like you know eight like but really mostly we had it like 70s and the 60s, right? Now we don't know what would be the cause of that, but we know that that's going to happen because we know how a market works, right? So now, mind you, Bitcoin was just at 20 something bands last year, right? So imagine if you bought at 20 bands last year, right? Bitcoin shot up to about 110, then it went back down to like 69, 70. It's sitting at like 85 right now, I think. Yeah, you look like you're down a lot in the last month or so, but overall, like over the last year, you're up, bro, probably like a few 100%. Let's quit playing games. So we definitely got to be careful about, because when you're looking at the market, you start looking backwards. You know what I mean? You always want to go back to the history whenever you're looking at a chart because you're trying to see. A lot of the times you're gonna find patterns in the market. You find patterns, and the patterns you find them by going back in the past and seeing what happened before. You know what I'm saying? And so if you go back, you're gonna see, man, a lot of this shit been just shooting up, and it ain't never retraced. A lot of these markets we looking at, they never retraced. It's been years they haven't retraced. They finally retracing. Most of us already knew this shit eventually would happen. So that's a part of that, right? Now, the panic over the tariffs. Yeah, people wanted tariffs to the extent of what they've been hit, what's been going on now. I don't know, but we do got to raise the question when we talk about whether let's remove Elon from the equation. When we talk about what the job is of Doge, are you against that shit? Should there be somebody delegated to making sure that the government ain't fucking wasting money vacationing with our shit? I would think so, but let's go.
It's like, well, no, this is far more effective than killing a CEO of a United Healthcare company. Like, if you love Luigi Mangione, like this should be like your wet dream. You should be super excited if you're liberals.
It is, but they are also the same people who have followed the marketing that you see during the Super Bowl of max out your 401k, get a Roth IRA, only put your money in a place that you can partner with the government to invest in the stock market. So they've done what they were told, what we were told was responsible. That was never responsible because it was always a market perversion. They didn't study that for themselves. So you do have to feel sorry for people who have sort of fallen for the BlackRock line and now they're the ones getting screwed. They don't understand what happened. I mean, we could have told them a long time ago. We told you to buy gold. So
I mean, I could go back to 2016 here on the show when I was on YouTube. And one of the first videos that I ever made here on YouTube was why your 401k is garbage, and why you should not be partnering with Wall Street and the government for your family's future and your retirement. It's a terrible investment, and you shouldn't be investing in these companies that are offshoring jobs, closing down factories here at home, and then moving to China. And now, guess what? Now the chickens have come home to roost. So anyway, we're going to talk all about this on the show today. We've got a lot of special guests here that we're going to get to in just a second. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at Shopify.
Yes, Shopify.
That's an interesting point because what that says is at this moment, man, you can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. We talk about the jobs being here. but we don't want to punish them for leaving, for taking them over.
Is a great
abroad.
place to go if you would like to start an online commerce platform of any kind. So whatever idea you have to launch your shop to the world, Shopify is where you start. And in fact, the Redacted store runs on Shopify because it's really just so easy to come up with an idea of something that you would like to market to the world, and you can implement that. These are all of our great Redacted designs. We come up with an idea inside our group chat in our company. Our great designer, Grim, he mocks it up. We're able to launch it to the world in just minutes as soon as we have a design we agree upon. So if you go to redactedstore.com, you can see all the things that we run on Shopify. Not only do they handle the website, they handle the back end, and they also handle the e-commerce platform, and they handle support as well. So if anything goes wrong, you've got someone really willing and ready and willing to help you at a moment's notice. So you can upgrade your business and get the same checkout, again, that we use at Shopify. So integrate Shopify into your life and, in fact, allow them to be the back end of your business. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redacted, all lowercase. That's shop in dollars.
Chat says, tariffs caused the Great Depression. Learn your history. No, it didn't. In fact, the creation of the Fed is responsible for our Great Depression. Learn your history.
Yeah, I'll take that one to the bank.
Yeah, Shane, please learn your history. The creation of the Fed is responsible for the destruction of the United States. Make no mistake about it. And we're going to talk about the Fed here in a second.
Domo, do you want that fucking work? Was it the Fed or was it the tariffs? Do you want that work? Was it the Fed or was it the tariffs?
Because they are sitting on their hands right now. They had a meeting today, a board meeting today. Will they be forced? Will their hands be forced to lower interest rates? We'll talk about that. So, is President Trump about to eliminate income taxes for America? This is one of the big things that no one's talking about. The media is ignoring this story. This could be phase 2 of this entire process. Roll out these tariffs, force these countries to face off against reciprocal tariffs here, and then also eliminate income taxes for Americans. President Trump has repeatedly said it's illegal for income taxes to exist. And he said, as he was moving into his second term, he wanted to eliminate them. Is that phase 2? Well, we'll see. The president is hinting, and their administration officials hinting that could be coming very, very soon. Can you imagine elimination of income taxes in the United States? Which, yes, they are illegal. Oh, my God, it'd be unbelievable. But the mainstream media really wants you to be upset over the Trump tariffs right now. Wall-to-wall coverage. All you need to do is flip on CNN or MSNBC, front page stories all over the internet, from the Wall Street Journal to Bloomberg, on how the sky is falling because the stock market has plummeted. So we need to feel bad for these big companies right now. Watch how the corporate media is trying to scare you, how Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary isn't having it. Watch this amazing exchange this morning.
Do you own your own home in Arizona and are still paying for electricity? You could be missing out on free government assistance to go solar. Most people don't know this, but in 2005, the federal government passed the Energy Policy Act. This federal law granted everyday homeowners access to thousands of dollars to invest in upgrading their homes with solar panels. This is why you've seen so many of your neighbors going solar over the years. Those who meet the requirements are getting paid to go green. This federal program was granted in the form of a 26% tax credit, but is increased to 30%, meaning that's more money to give to you so you can save even more on your electric bill. But unfortunately, not every home qualifies. If you want to see if you qualify and exactly how much incentives your home qualifies for to go solar, click the little blue button below to take our energy savings quiz.
I want to start on these tariffs. The market is on track right now for its worst weekly performance since March of 2020. How do you continue to be an advocate for these tariffs, given the sell-off we're seeing, given that I have had every source on our show this morning say that these tariffs will be causing a recession in the United States?
They don't know that yet. They don't know how long the tariff's going to be on. We've never done this before. We've never taken on the entire globe. Usually it's done in trade agreements with specific countries.
But Kevin, as of this morning, with the 34% retaliatory tariff from China to the United States, we are not getting closer to free trade. We are just getting further into a trade war.
No, China's a whole different story. This isn't about trade war with China. This is about leveling the playing field on a wide range of issues, including IP law, access to business, access to courts, being compliant with U.S. regulations on securities. There is a laundry list of grievances with China that have been around since they joined the WTO, and none of the administrations previously have ever dealt with China.
So why are tariffs the right way?
Dealt with for the first time. So this has nothing to do with just tariffs. I mean, right now I can't litigate.
That's the tool that the administration is using. Why are tariffs the correct tool if, to your point, these have nothing to do with tariffs?
What tool do you suggest they do when nothing else
Well,
has
I'm not the
worked?
president. It's not my job.
Well, exactly. So let him do his work.
I love her smug response.
Right. But that cuts both ways. So then if you don't know what would otherwise work, but you're sure this won't, but you have no authority or expertise, why the heck are you the anchor?
Right. And why are you saying that I've had all these sources on the show today who are telling me one thing, but they don't know that a recession is coming. We don't have in fact, we may have actually staved it off.
Right.
Or we may have actually been in a recession for the past number of quarters.
And also, why are you interrupting the guy that's trying to give you an answer?
Right. Why do you invite him on if you don't want to hear it? Anyway, maybe he's totally wrong. Maybe Kevin O'Leary is totally wrong. I don't know. Are you president of the United States? No, then shut up and let him do his job to fix the disaster that President Biden left on his doorstep. So just here are a couple data points. Remarkably, oil prices have now plummeted. Grocery prices have dropped significantly in recent weeks. Egg prices have come down. Most importantly, the inflation number has now dropped to pre-pandemic numbers of 1.3%.
Domo.
This is the truth.
Domo, do you want this work, bruh? Yes or no, nigga? Yes or no? Do you want this work?
Inflation number. So look at those numbers now for inflation. So all the sort of crying about inflation and how it surged, of course, under Biden is now reversing itself. Remember, the tariffs don't even start until April 9th. And overnight, we learned that over 50 countries have now reached out and they're ready to make a deal. Japan is sending a delegation to Washington as we speak. The UK.
Man. Hold up, man. I know damn well.
Japan. Tonight, we learned that over 50 countries have now reached out and they're ready to make a deal. Japan is. We learned that over 50. Remember, the tariffs don't even start until April 9th.
Domo, the tariffs don't start to April 9th, Domo. And you know what? What happened to, we won't see the effects of what a president does until probably within the next 4 years after they're gone. Right, we won't really see the effects of their policy. I thought that was the typical rule, right? So usually the bullshit that you win is usually based off of what was left from the president before, right? So had you been in if you're, usually they'll say if you're in a presidency and everything is good, then 9 times out of 10, that's based off of how the last president left it. So the tariffs haven't even happened yet. And niggas has been claiming that the market has been crashing. So I want to know who we blaming for that exactly. Who we go put that on?
And overnight, we learned that over 50 countries have now reached out and they're ready to make a deal. Japan is sending a delegation to Washington as we speak. The UK, Keir Starmer as well. Even the EU, which has been propped up by the United States for decades, is now ready to talk.
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners. Because Europe is always ready for a good deal, so we keep it on the table.
Great. And now this morning, a new poll out shows that Trump's approval has gone up 4 points in the last week after the news of the tariffs broke. Why? I mean, why is that? And you know,
Could it be because Americans don't allow the mainstream media to manipulate their emotions anymore?
Maybe.
That would be amazing.
Or
if
maybe,
true.
yeah, maybe it's that they're not like when they turn on CNN. And I saw someone in the chat saying even like Fox News is talking about,
Yep.
you know, is talking about how devastating these.
Man, everybody is turned. If you notice, Fox, MSNBC, NBC, CNN, well, we know what side they've been on, right? But for Fox to switch up, that shit is interesting. I will say that. That is an interesting scenario because usually Fox finds a way to sympathize. And it's going to be interesting if it just goes downhill.
These tariffs would be. Maybe
Right.
that's the case.
I'm tired of you guys getting me worked up about something that I don't understand completely yet. I'm going to hold a pause on this.
And just allow it to unfold and see where it goes instead of having the mainstream media tell us one way or the other how to feel about it. Or maybe Americans just aren't really interested in the stock market. Maybe most Americans that have the 10% of Americans that hold the most wealth in this country are actually care about the stock market when the rest of America doesn't. So when everyone's crying about stocks plummeting, most Americans will say, good, I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass. Could it be because the average Americans don't care about this? They care about their jobs. They care about their factories.
Fact.
Maybe. Like this guy who sums it up perfectly. He's not even a Trump supporter, but listen.
You know what's funny? They're going to be really upset if all of this shit works out. That's what I want to know. These niggas better keep this same energy in a few months.
Has gone viral over the past 48 hours talking about how these tariffs would work on, he's a business owner and he's like, I'm not a Trump supporter, but here's how it works. Watch.
So do you want to know the part that they're not telling you about tariffs? Here's the reality that nobody's talking about. Nobody. This lighter costs $25 in America to buy an American-made product, okay? China makes one, sells it for $20 here in America. Out of that $20, $5 goes to whoever in America sells it. $15 of it goes back to China. You buy the $25 one in America, all $25 stays in America. So now we want to say, let's balance this out, and we're going to put a 50% tariff on Chinese goods. Now this lighter costs $30 to sell in the United States. Now you have the U.S.-made one at $25. It is cheaper. It's more expensive in the big picture, I get it. But it's now cheaper, so people are going to buy the American-made one. 100% of the $25 that you spend stays in America, stays here. The demand increases for that business has to hire employees. When many businesses...
Domo, do you want this work?
Hire employees, that creates a supply shortage of employees, which make wages go up. Is this more expensive for the consumer in the short term? Yes, but you're getting a better product. You're getting a better product for your money, and the money is staying local. Okay, you're not funding these other countries and their businesses. That is the purpose behind all of this. Will we have a recession? Yes. Will prices go up in the short term? Yes. But the lagging effect is all of that money now stays here with us. It's not leaving the country, which gives us more money in the United States to go around for everybody. Of course, every nation in the world is going to say, we're being bad neighbors and bad business partners. Well, of course, we've made them rich. And now we as a people are suffering. We want our money back. Why is that so hard? It's not ideal.
Why is that so hard, Domo? Because
But it works and it makes sense. And I'm not a pro-Trumper at all. But I believe in it.
I'm starting to think there's a little globalism going on secretly with Domo. I think there might be a little bit of a secret globalist agenda with Domo. Because I'm wondering what the hell is going on right now.
I'm a business owner. I know how it works. Have a great day.
challenge of overcoming addiction can be overwhelming. But every journey starts with a single step.
I like that guy. Independent thinker. There you go.
So where do we come down on all of this? Well, Kevin Demerit is the CEO of Lear Capital, and of course been watching over the past 48 hours. So we've seen silver prices skyrocketing. Gold has leveled down a little bit here, but still over $3,000 an ounce right now. A lot of questions about where things go right now. Kevin joins us now. Good to see you, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be on. Thanks for having me.
So regardless of where people come down on this, it seems clearly, maybe at a high level, Kevin, we can just talk about this at a 30,000 foot level. It seems like globalism is dead here. Like Bill Clinton's dream has finally been crushed. Like we're going to outsource all of these American jobs. We're going to get all these.
It sounds like, it feels like Domo's dream is being crushed. I ain't even going to lie to you. That's what I've been feeling. It feels like Domo's dream is being crushed.
Cheap Chinese goods. We're going to send uranium to Russia, uranium enrichment to Russia. All of our mineral production, you know it better than anyone. We're going to send it to Canada. We're going to send it everywhere else but here. And we weren't expecting a huge problem. Is globalism dead?
No, globalism is not dead. It's just you're starting to get to a point where there's going to be some fair play, right? I mean, we haven't had fair play in trade for years. We may get it. Like you said, 50 countries came to the negotiating table to talk about their tariffs. And the woman you had on from the EU said, we're ready to negotiate for 0 tariffs. Well, that's positive. So take that back to CNN and have the woman explain that. But
right.
It wasn't 0 tariffs prior to what Trump had to do. It was, we're going to put tariffs on you guys. You guys aren't going to put tariffs on us. And we're going to allow that to continue. And now all of a sudden they have to come to the negotiating table. 50 countries to the negotiating table is a big deal.
Well, one of the things that economists that I respect have said that we never had a proper recovery from the 2008 fallout. And the reason was because we had this Walmart, Amazon, China artificial system where we could still buy cheap goods and feel like we're okay. Don't worry about it. We're fine. And so that's not going to be the case any longer. And we're going to have to buy fewer high quality things. And then we can actually recover, because if we don't, then the bubble that has never actually been properly burst will burst on us even worse. What do you think of that?
Peace.
Well, I think that's true. Look, you have to balance this trade out to see where prices are really going to fall, right? I don't think anyone can really tell you with all the tariffs that countries have placed on us, or just don't trade with us at all. I mean, that's the other issue, right? We send a bunch of goods. They send a bunch of goods to the United States. We try to send some over to those countries, and we just can't do it. So how much more efficient could we be by selling goods and products and services into those other countries? I think there's a lot of this, but the people that are out there talking about, how negative this is and look what it did to the stock market. Well, look, if you had credit card debt and you were trying to pay down your credit card debt, you don't get a happy day. You get, I need to put off some clothes. I need to put off going out to this fancy dinner. There is some pain that needs to take place to get to a better spot. And before people can start making a judgment about, do these tariffs work or not, I'd like to ask them a question. Give me the 5 or 6 issues that tell you the tariffs are working or tell you the tariffs are not working. And then let's look at and see what happens over the next 3 or 4 months. But everybody says, they're not working because the stock market's down. How about, hey, look, if we see a shrinking trade deficit, or we see an increase in manufacturing here in the United States, or we see reshoring announcements like we've seen job growth in some of those tariff areas, or we see an increase in tax revenue because of the tariffs, or how about this one? 50 countries come to the bargaining table and say, hey, we want to negotiate with tariffs. And then give me the list that that would be negative? Are tariffs not working, like maybe lower GDP growth or decline in business investment or retaliation from trade partners around the world? Not 50 coming to the table in one country increases.
Right.
That isn't how you determine if something's successful or not.
I think that's a brilliant point, because everyone's just sort of shouting right now.
Yeah.
Look at this. Trump's tariffs aren't working. Stock market is down. Right? Is that your indicator that tariffs aren't working to make sure that jobs are coming back to
is
America?
everybody a day trader?
Yeah, like everyone cares about day trading or something, and as you pointed out, we've already had a number of companies announcing bringing jobs and manufacturing back to the United States. So that's, to me, a huge indicator. And I'm not. Look, I'm an independent on this. I'm on President Trump, and I think most of our audience realizes that. But I think that's a brilliant thing that you just said, which is people need to step back and wait and see, like, what are the indicators that you're using to measure this without just yelling? I saw Jim Cramer on CNN. That video has like 2 million views, and he literally went on there and just said absolutely nothing of substance. He just whined about tariffs, but didn't explain one point as to why they wouldn't work or why this was a bad idea. He just wanted to whine on television. And that's it. That's what people are doing right now. They're just whining. What about the Fed, Kevin? You watch all of this very closely. The Fed is, like, to me, the big elephant in the room here. Are they going to, do you think, move to lower interest rates more quickly because now inflation has plummeted? So I guess one of the big things that Trump said was we're going to get inflation down and we're going to get prices down. So gas prices have plummeted. Grocery prices, I don't know if how many Americans have been paying attention, but grocery prices have come down significantly over the past few weeks. And now this inflation number is down to 1.3%. What is the Fed going to do?
Well, look, this was kind of an emergency meeting, so we don't know really what was said. But if I had to guess, it's kind of what I just said. First of all, let's look at the indicators that these tariffs are successful or not successful and what that means to the economy, right? So that's the first thing you need to do is define, what is the economy going to do in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? And how do we help that or slow it down? So if we're going to get inflation, we have to leave interest rates where it is. What does that mean? Well, it would be negative if all the tariffs raised consumer prices and they went through the roof. We can't raise the interest rates. If we get a decline in business investment because of the tariffs, then maybe we want to keep interest rates and start lowering them. So each one of the things that I kind of brought up are the things that they need to put on their piece of paper with a line down the middle and try to figure out where the economy is going. We had a great jobs report, so that would be inflationary. So they need to add everything up and try to figure out where they are rather than just all this reacting that all these other people are doing. And that's what I think they're hopefully doing.
Now, I've noticed this generational battle where younger people on X are saying, it's your fault, boomers, you did this. You basically created this big bubble. You spent. Now we can't have houses. That's your fault. I don't see it that way. I don't see my parents having, created the national debt. I see it as the government did this. The government is now, it's the Fed that did this. I don't like that. Like, it's not for, what did they do? They were powerless to a government that wanted this. What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. They didn't do this. The Fed and the government spending did this, right? We couldn't get government spending under control if our lives depended on it. And starting with Greenspan, we started with quantitative easing back when the dot-com bubble fell, or when the NASDAQ fell, and it never really stopped. So we just keep spending way beyond our means. I mean, in 2008, we had an $8 trillion budget deficit, which was reasonable based on GDP. Now we're at 36 trillion. I don't think the baby boomers caused, an 8 trillion to a 36 trillion increase in government spending and a deficit that large.
No.
Somebody needs to put a stop to it, and hopefully we'll find a lot of waste in government. And
you're not going to just be blaming people making babies.
Trump can fix that.
Yeah, the baby boomers were the the Bill Clintons in that generation, which offshored all of these businesses, put them overseas, cut manufacturing. 90,000 factories since the 1990s have now closed in the United States, and we have no manufacturing base here anymore at all.
Right, but the average boomer was an unwitting participant in that they didn't.
Yeah, like your mom is not to blame,
right?
But Bill Clinton is to blame.
And look, we have higher paying service jobs. So even if you took the manufacturing out of the equation a little bit, we would have been okay with servicing jobs. That has nothing to do with it. If you bring in $1 and you spend $3, you're going to be in some serious issues at some point. And that's the real problem. Our deficit going up that high, and we can't balance our trade deficit. We can't balance our budget. Those are the problems. They have nothing to do with anybody but politicians and the Fed.
I just want to ask you about this because it's been kind of pointed out. I think Tim Pool even pointed this out pretty well over the past 24 hours, that the Democratic Party has really become the party of the rich. Even Chuck Schumer has acknowledged this. This has been the Atlantic magazine, I think, did like a post-mortem. I think Rolling Stone did a post-mortem.
Basically, that's a hard pill to swallow. The Democratic Party has become the party of the rich, and typically we would say vice versa. We would say that would be the people who are trying to conserve. But when you look at that, it's kind of twofold, right? Because if you look at what's been able to galvanize how the red has been able to galvanize people compared to the blue, it's been based off of being able to simplify things for the people who are not only who I guess we would deem as poor, but also the people who we would deem as uneducated. The blue side, the Dems, they do a horrible job of relating to poor people, because a lot of the time what they'll do is they want you to say fuck your normal values to look at the bigger picture. But the thing is, it's almost like when I say that when Malcolm said to leave your religion at the door. Oh, okay. He said leave your religion at the door, right? I'm finna get you. It's not possible, bro, because that's something that's carried in people's heart. So someone, well, I don't see you. I don't see you. Here, let me do this one. Should be the same link. They can't do it though because it's in their heart. So it goes the same way when they go pushing certain agendas that they know is gonna go against their core basis moral value system. And you're not gonna get people to vote for the most part against their moral value system. They rather fuck themselves over than do that. And they don't seem to understand that. And for some reason, they do understand it, because it's crazy, because when you listen to the left, they can really articulate like what's going on and why people are voting against themselves, but yet they're not smart enough to do anything fucking about it. They still will go in and use the same game plan, even though they see whatever they can feel. Like, you don't know how to read a fucking room. Like, you walk in the room and you start talking about who's obligated, or who gets to use what bathrooms and all of that. Like, bro, you finna really start turning people's stomachs, bro, to some other shit. And now it's gonna be hard for you to have any other conversation. You can't push that conversation forward if you don't even introduce it in the right way. And making somebody feel uncomfortable about their baby being in whatever bathroom that their baby is gonna be in, it's gonna be hard for you to be able to spark a conversation past that. Like, that's just 100. All right. So let me see. I don't see you, Queen. I don't know what's going on. I don't see you. I'm gonna go back and press play, but I got it on there. I'm gonna let it play.
Calling Democrats like they've abandoned the working class. They've abandoned the Rust Belt. They've abandoned the workers. They've become a party of like wealthy coastal elites who, hold 10% of the country's wealth. They hold 10% of most of the wealth distribution in the United States, and most of it, of course, made through the stock market. And then you have this vast, huge chunk in the middle that doesn't have any investment in the stock market, don't care about Wall Street's ups and downs. And so really the crying that you're seeing on media and all the liberal media that's run by all of these corporate elites is really a reflection of that. Do you agree or disagree with that?
And that's a good point.
Look, I think the Democrats.
No, that's a damn good point that he just made right there, right? Most people on average, they don't even understand the fucking stock market, let alone enough of it to give a fuck about it and its significance. So in reality, that shit really ain't significant to majority of the people. Like, we're just gonna be honest. And so when they always try to push a narrative from that standpoint, and you cannot constantly talk about the economy from the viewpoint of the stock market. It's always gonna be a bad argument, because you're gonna be, every time, regardless, one thing about the market, you can always be making money in the market, whether it's going up. That same stock that was going up that you was making money off of is the same stock when it's going down you can make money off of. You can make money off that same stock, whether it go up or down. Same thing. But like I said, you're just in there blind, just doing shit, so you don't really know. And then just think, if you in a 401k, you don't even have the ability to do that, right? You don't even have the ability to do that. You only invested in certain types of stocks, right? That you even allowed to put money in. And even when you doing that, like, it's just, like I said, at the end of the day, that's something, to me, you're not really in control of it. Like, you don't have the ability to say, all right, the market look like it's gonna be bearish for a little while, let me short the market, you know what I mean, until things steady out so you can make money while the market is going down. You don't have that ability in the 401k. If it's going down, you just gotta leave it, or you'll sell out. But then selling, you're gonna have to pay the hell of a tax on that shit. So it's a lot of shit that go into it, man. But we gonna keep
Democrats have just been more.
Yeah, I don't see you. Let me know, Miss Queen Sunkiss.
They've been the party that has spent more money, so they were influenced more by corporate, just, hey, here's a corporate gift, or hey, I'm on some committee and there's a stock and we want you guys to doing X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden the stock goes up. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi has a better track record than Warren Buffett over the past 10 years. I mean, I don't think she's smarter than Warren Buffett in stock investing. So where did that come from? It came from all of the corporate people, giving her some inside tips. And I don't think anybody would say that that's untrue. So, I don't know if they're the elite class of, high income earners or, rich people in the United States. I just think they're willing to take some contributions from those people in ways that maybe Republicans aren't, if you get the drift.
Right.
Yeah. But I do very much feel sorry for liberals who adhered to their party's platform is partner with the government to invest in the stock market, max out all your savings in your 401k, and let us take control of that. And they didn't have the motivation to question these power structures, and they will hurt the most. So it's not, I have a lot of empathy for people who have not looked outside these into alternative investment structures and did what the government told them and now are feeling the pain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the government isn't there to help you with your investment, right? If that were the case, then in school, they would be teaching us how to invest. They don't do that. They kind of let you go out and try to figure it out yourself. People, if you think the government is going to be there and help your retirement and get you through that, they're not. You have to make the right decisions. You have to save. You have to do the things that you need to do to diversify your portfolio, and you will be fine. In 2 to 3 years, nobody's going to think about these tariffs. Hopefully, they would all work out, get better trade, but the stock market has always come back. Investments go up, investments come down. If you don't want to go through the horror of having 2 or 3 investments in your portfolio and they all go down at once or go up at once, you got to diversify a little bit and think about it. And I think you guys have done a great job with real estate and precious metals and all the other things that you talk about, trying to educate people on something that the schools have really been a disaster, trying to help people understand and plan for their retirement and financial future.
Thank you.
Well, it's going to be unbelievable here in the next few days. You're going to continue to watch all the media meltdown over this. But I think we need to watch and just sort of sit back and study the data here. And actually, I think what you said was really brilliant about watching the data points and, figuring out how do we measure the success or failure of these tariffs. So we'll be watching it closely, and we're going to see which other countries now come to the table before this April 9th deadline. But we've got 50 of them. I think maybe 52 as of our show today. So we'll continue to watch it. Kevin Demerit, great to see you as always. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be on. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
I saw Carol Roth, who was on our show last week, explaining the tariffs. She said, "Don't look at me. I told you to buy gold." So,
I know. I mean, listen, I'm telling you,
never felt so good about those sponsors of Redacted.
Well, I mean, since 2016, we've been saying on this show, and the reason we say that the 401k is a terrible way to plan for your retirement is because we speak from experience. I mean, a 401k was never meant to stand on its own as an investment. It was meant to work in tandem with pension plans. And even the founder of the 401k said that it's failed. So if your whole family's future is tied to a 401k, this should be a wake-up call to a lot of people. And by the way, when this all sort of subsides in the next few months and these numbers, by the way, I love that any sort of Keynesian economists, a whole bunch of Keynesian economists have come out and they're like slamming these tariffs. And I saw Zero Hedge had a great opinion piece today about it. It said, anytime Keynesian economists tell you to do one thing, do the opposite. Mm-hmm. What they're telling you to do right now is sell. Yeah. You should be buying, because Keynesians told you to be buying before 2008 when you should have been, and so they're always wrong. And so this is an opportunity for you to maybe sort of a wake-up call to rethink about, I just started a new job. The only thing I'm going to do is get a 401k and just sort of set it and forget it.
Do you know that the average 401k on full maturity when somebody retires is $90,000? How are you going to live your entire retirement on $90,000?
It's ridiculous.
How are you going to do that? Plus, most of the time they're taxed if it's not a Roth. So it's to you to have been studied and to continue to study and to own your family's financial future and to not be dependent on the government. And I am so sorry for people who have bought this expensive marketing that you should have been partnered with the government to be in the stock market.
It's so true, because when you think about all the commercials, you have Fidelity, you have these Charles Schwab and all these, they spend millions of dollars on commercials, on Super Bowl ads and baseball games and everything. Right. So you're sitting there, follow the green line to retirement, whatever. And so, I'm sorry. So Fidelity, you're going to spend millions of dollars on TV commercials. So I go into a Fidelity store or a Charles Schwab's, bank or whatever, and you're going to plan my retirement by putting it in the stock market. Like
in a high fee fund.
Yeah,
you make more money on it than I do.
The reason they're able to spend millions of dollars on these TV commercials is because they make millions of dollars off of suckers.
Right.
Anyway, it's infuriating. And now again, and I also love that these companies that offshored these jobs, that moved out of their manufacturing out of the United States, moved it to China, Mexico, Vietnam, and other spots, are the same companies that these.
Just think, if you buy the S&P 100, right? Say it go up 24%, like 24% on the year. If you put that in on your 401k, it's only gonna go up like 12% on a year. The SPY, like, right? You buy SPY, an index fund, a SPY on your 401k, and you've been investing in that. Let's say it was going up 24% every year. You only gonna be able to get 12% of that. And then we gotta go over how IRAs and Roths work. So when they do come down to that, we'll be able to maneuver around the tax.
Individuals invest in.
And really, this is the biggest thing about that, right? A big wake up call is we are really, really, really gonna have to start understanding how certain shit really maneuvers. Whether it is the stock market, whether it is your credit system, but you're gonna have to start figuring out ways of being able, when you come across lump sums of money, of being able to maneuver it in a way to where you're not paying crazy taxes, yo. It's just, it is what it is.
Right.
Right. But these are the same people who championed Luigi Mangione, killing a CEO of United Healthcare. They're like, yeah, that's the
to
way
bring
to do
down
it.
a system.
To bring down the system.
That you're probably invested in
your 401k.
In your 401k.
The hypocrisy.
And we already know that, like, when the system crashed in 2008, who did they bail out? They bailed out the people that made the bad decisions with your money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Point.
And we set up this fractional reserve banking system. So you don't even have to. And during the pandemic under Biden, it used to be that when I put $100 in the bank had to hold 10 of those dollars, and then they could lend it out. Now under the pandemic, they get to hold zero. So they have to hold none of your money. Mm-hmm. Is that unbelievable? They don't get to hold any of your money, and they can lend it out.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is. I think that it's just amazing to watch the mainstream media just crying over this corporatists.
What makes me more mad is like this anchor we just saw. Girl, you're on a network that sells the 401k as if it is the holy grail. And anyone who had followed that advice is hurting right now, and you're scaring them more. That's unconscionable to me, and it's irresponsible, and it's ignorant.
Michael Song in our chat says, I just lost $100,000 in my 401k during this redacted segment. Yeah, I know.
Goodness.
I know you're being hyperbolic, but yeah, I mean, if you've got money in the stock market in a large way, I mean, again, the companies that have been offshoring jobs and stand to lose and suffer the most here, like, why were you invested in those companies who were screwing over America in a large way? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, but we'll see how this all shakes out with the stock market. We've got more news to get to here on your Monday. We are going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, who just arrived in the White House. President rolled out the red carpet for Benjamin Netanyahu once again. So while everyone is distracted by tariffs, Netanyahu chose the opportune moment to come to the White House and beg for us to go to war with Iran and a whole host of other issues, of course. And so we're going to talk about that, plus some really damaging stuff that just came out of Israel over the past 48 hours that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all of that. But first, I'm super excited, guys, for this because I want to tell you about our friends at Jacked Up Fitness. Now, Maha is here to stay. It's inspiring Americans everywhere to make fitness a priority again. That's why I'm excited to be working with these guys, with Don and the team over at Jacked Up Fitness.
Like, who the fuck thought it would have been a good idea for the banks to have to hold zero of your money to lend out $10? The fuck, holding a dollar of your money and being able to loan it out 10 times is a fucking problem. Not having any of it. What the hell are they doing? Crash out shit, yo. Crash out shit. They've been doing crash out shit and they're getting caught up right now.
honored to make this donation there. And now we're getting our own Power Rack Pro here at the Redacted.
We ain't gonna play games like, yo, the rich has been just constantly getting richer. And the only reason why is because of one side. It was only one candidate that was gonna stop the rich from getting richer. We just gonna be 100%. And that's fucking Bernie Sanders. Everybody else is cap, yo. You start hearing the tax shit and them talking about taxes for the poor, they're fucking lying. They're lying. If they cut your taxes, best believe there's gonna be a loophole for everybody else, for the people with the goddamn big bucks. We're not getting around that. There will be. So don't let them cap with the bullshit. Like, one side is, fucking you over with the taxes and the other side. Yo, the rich have been getting richer regardless of the president. We just gonna be 100. The only one that gave a fucking damn about that shit and that would have put a halt to it was the guy that got sabotaged by his own party damn near 3-4 fucking elections in a row, Bernie Sanders.
Media right now is focused on Trump's tariff. Israel really wants America to go to war with Iran. Wanted war criminal himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, is in D.C. right now, meeting with the Trump administration, as President Trump sent another aircraft carrier to the Middle East. Americans didn't ask for this. They didn't sign up for this.
And yo, shout out to Bernie trying to block our goddamn $800 million of our, or $800 billion of our damn reparations money headed to Israel. Bernie trying to block that shit. Shout out to Bernie Sanders on that.
And they certainly didn't vote.
Stop sending our goddamn money off to these folks.
For President Trump wanting to go to war with Iran. Meanwhile, this weekend, Israel was caught lying when new videotape had emerged from brutal murder of medical workers from March 23rd, where they gunned down them in cold blood. And now new video has emerged showing that Israel lied about this incident. To make sense of all of this, and President Trump targeting Houthis in a village using drones and then taking to social media to praise this drone strike, is John Kiriakou. He's the host of Declassified, CIA Declassified on Unified Television. He's a CIA whistleblower. And of course, he called attention to President Bush's illegal torture by the CIA, and then they went after him for it. And he joins us now. John, great to see you.
My pleasure.
I know you don't pull any punches on this, and we don't either. Here, a few minutes ago on the show, we were talking about Trump's tariffs, and I believe there's a lot of really good things about that. But on this, I'm absolutely furious about it. Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington, D.C., clearly, it seems, pushing the United States towards war with Iran. First, on that point, what do you make of this?
This is something, as you correctly noted, that Benjamin Netanyahu has done on literally every visit to the United States since he first became prime minister. I remember when I was still at the CIA more than 25 years ago, every single time Netanyahu would go to the White House, he would say to whoever happened to be president, you have to attack Iran, you have to attack Iran, you have to attack Iran. And president after president told him, we don't want to go to war with Iran. So here he is again, after all these years, demanding that the United States attack Iran on Israel's behalf, is what it comes down to. I hope, like you do, that Donald Trump has the wherewithal to stand up to this. And you are also right that the American people did not vote for a war with Iran.
Now, I will say this. That's where it gets interesting. And I'm going to say this. There's been a lot of compromises that Netanyahu has been making for Trump since the first election. Since the first time in, 2016, that he ain't never really made for any other president. Shit like that be happening, bro. You don't know what the fuck, what type of deals and underhand shit these motherfuckers got going on with each other. That could have been a plan the whole time. Like, all right, yeah, you can move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. Cool, yeah, do that. Yeah, yeah, perfect. Yeah, we're gonna make Jerusalem the capital. Yeah, yeah, do that. Perfect, perfect. Oh, you want me to do a ceasefire? Yeah, I'll do that. Perfect. But now he pulling up and he finna ask for his favor. He been holding out, bro. He been holding out. Don't think that money they getting is a fucking favor, yo. They demand that fucking money. They don't ask that shit like they asking for it. They demand that fucking money that they get. When it come what he want, he finna come ask for this shit, bro. And I will say this. There is a fucking high probability. I'm not gonna even pretend like that shit low. There's a high probability that nigga give him a yeah, I got you.
It would be, well, first of all, it would be devastating. We've had military leaders on our show who said, this is not a war that we would win. Russia, of course, would come to the defense of Iran. It would be a World War III, a global disaster, absolute disaster. I want to get your sense of this too. This weekend, this new videotape emerged from March 23rd.
Netanyahu,
I just can't get over the fact that we have a wanted war criminal literally in the White House right now, meeting with our president when all of these atrocities have unfolded. And they're painting all of this as, it's just Hamas. Oh, it's Hamas. So these medical workers were not Hamas.
No.
And we were told, they lied about this. We were told that they were approaching them suspiciously. And that they're, with lights off, they were very darkened figures. They knew exactly who they were.
And see, that's what one thing about Redacted, right? They was just doing what? Or you would have thought when we started this show that they was doing what? Praising Trump, right? That's what you would have assumed. But no, that's not what was going on. They were just strictly sticking to how certain things are going. And now we're on a different subject. And now he getting that work. Like it's simple and plain. Now he getting that work now. See, this is the difference. We ain't on CNN and Fox, y'all.
They were targeting medical officers. And then the videotapes emerged showing that they were lying about it, that their lights were on, and they clearly knew who they were. Then they lined it up and killed them in cold blood. The BBC, playing defense for these guys, the BBC headline said, Israel changes account of their story. No, they didn't change their account. They were lying. The BBC should have just said in their headlines, Israel caught lying about atrocities killing these medics. So when the world just sits back and allows this to happen, and then they said, you know what, then they were Hamas. And that's like the blanket excuse they can use for everything.
That's right.
Everything is Hamas. Everything is Hamas. It's so infuriating, John.
If you believe the Israelis, Hamas is millions strong. And we know that that's ludicrous. It's absurd. What we saw on the 23rd of March with the cold-blooded extrajudicial executions of these EMTs was an obvious war crime. I mean, war crimes generally don't get any more clear, any more obvious than what the Israelis did to these ambulance drivers and attendants. And you're exactly right. The world just kind of shrugs and say, fog of war, Hamas, what are we going to do? No, we have to hold the Israelis accountable. They've committed numerous war crimes since the start of this conflict. Yes, Hamas is a terrorist organization. Yes, it's terrible. Yes, it launched an attack, and those Hamas leaders should be brought to justice. Many of them already have been. But this is a war crime, and heads should roll because of it.
I think
we just gonna be real, bro. That nigga Netanyahu be standing on, bro, that they can defend that little landmass, that little strip of bacon landmass, however they deem fit. That man, I watched that man stand up on C-SPAN and tell them in the name of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I watched them do that, and all of them in Congress stood up and clapped for 3 fictitious characters that never fucking existed. That's why it's like, yo, at some point, it's one thing to understand when, the shit is pseudo, this and that, but it's another thing to understand that these motherfuckers got the ability to play that shit out. Gotta know the difference. Yeah, that shit is pseudo. We ain't telling you the shit is pseudo and bullshit because because that shit won't come to life. The shit is coming to life. You read the Bible, the shit comes to life. Why? Because they have the ability and the power to manifest that shit. And how else? Because you give them the belief and the faith to do it. So he go get up in there and he can knock off EMTs and all of that. Why? Why? Because he got the right. Because God gave him that right. Remember that shit, bro. That shit ain't based off of the war. None of this shit. The protection, the war, the money that they give it, none of this shit is based off of real shit. It's all based off of fake shit. This shit is based off of because God said so. And if God is talking to them, we in fucking trouble. I'm just gonna tell you right now. If God talks to these people, you are in fucking trouble. So we just gonna assume it's a goddamn lie.
I think that's a key point here because, people in the chat will say, I'm just waiting for Redacted to say something nasty about Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Sure.
Hamas is a terrorist organization that should be held accountable. These medics are not Hamas.
Exactly.
And the children in these schools that were bombed over the weekend, when we talk about that, these children, these beheaded children. I mean, I seeing the images this weekend it's
sickening.
Like it's absolutely sickening. And you look at your own children. How is the world allowing this to happen and normalizing this type of behavior, John? I mean, so there you go. Hamas is a terrorist organization that the United States funded and provided weapons to, and Israel funded and supported and created. So there you go. There's what I think about Hamas.
You're exactly right. And one of the things that I don't understand politically on the American side is the level of support for Israeli actions among American evangelicals. Are they blind to the fact? Do they just not know what the Israelis have done to the Christian communities in Gaza and the West Bank? St. Porphyrius Church, for example, the oldest continually
They don't give a damn about those Christians, bro. They don't see what they fail to realize when you talking about evangelical Christianity. They're not giving a fuck about the Ethiopian Christians and shit like that, bro. So no, they don't give a fuck about the oldest church in Christianity getting destroyed by them. They don't give a fuck about that shit. Because guess who built it? Some goddamn niggas. You think they give a fuck about that shit? No, bruh. So no, they're not gonna sympathize with African Christians, bro. I don't even know what he doing right now. He wasting his breath.
Operating Christian church in the Middle East not only was bombed by the Israelis and destroyed. This church dates to the 7th century. But inside the church, the Israelis killed 14 women and children who had taken refuge there. Why aren't the evangelicals in the United States upset about what Israel is doing to Christians in the occupied territories? I just simply don't understand it. Where's the outrage?
I don't get it either. Why? I mean, I don't understand the silence about the Christians that have been killed, not only there, but in Syria as well.
In Syria as well. Mm-hmm.
And it's a deafening. It's an absolute deafening. I mean, I don't understand. My friend of the show, Kevork Almassian, one of the great journalists, was Syrian journalist. He's just spoken about the atrocities as Benjamin Netanyahu just beheaded babies, killed medics, flying into the United States, and the world is just sitting back. And I'm just afraid. Now, you fought against this during your career. You blew the whistle on these atrocities that were being carried out by our government.
Yes.
And they went after you. President Obama went after you, right?
Yes, he did.
Is this going to be, are we normalizing this to the point where this is just going to be allowed to happen and no one will be held accountable for war crimes? Forget the International Criminal Court. Like, it's all just a joke now. It's all theater.
I fear that we are. Ronald Reagan once said that we were a shining city on a hill. And I really believe that we are. At least we should be. And so either we're going to be a country that embraces the rule of law, that embraces human rights and civil liberties, or we're not. We can't be both. We can't just stand by while Israel murders women and children and civilians and EMTs and just shrug our shoulders and at the same time jump up and down when any other country violates international standards of human rights. We have to be consistent on these issues. And so it's time for people to stand up.
You know, there's been a lot of focus on, well, everyone always throws out, well, it's October 7th. So that's why we have to kill babies, right? October 7th is the justification they give. Or in Syria, the shooting by Jolani's forces right in the, pregnant women's bellies. Like this is because of October 7th. We got to shoot pregnant women in the bellies. Like this is ridiculous. You were at the CIA. Mm-hmm. Overwhelming evidence that Israel knew exactly what was coming on October 7th and stood down for 7 hours or more. We know this from the Egyptian security services, intelligence services. From the CIA's perspective, I'm curious your take on that. From a CIA, the CIA had to know this was coming. And do you believe that there was collaboration between the CIA and Mossad to just stand down and allow this to happen? It allows them to take over all of this land. They needed a catalyst.
I actually do think that was the case. I hate to even express the words out loud, but yeah, I do believe that was the case. You know, American policy has slowly morphed from being the honest broker in the region to being Israel's last line of defense. And so we have given the Israeli government, mostly in the form of Benjamin Netanyahu, carte blanche to do anything he wants. And what that has become, and we see this with the appointment, for example, of cabinet ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, they can kill anybody they want, wherever and whenever they want. They can sponsor legislation in the Knesset that will result in the expulsion of literally every Palestinian. They can have so-called real estate seminars at synagogues in the United States and Canada, which really are nothing more than seizing Palestinian property and giving it to settlers to take for free.
Hold on. Hold up. Let's hit this. Hold on.
Join us for Level Up Expo, April 25th to the 27th in Las Vegas.
The Palestinian struggle is not just a cry for justice. It's a blistering battle for the most fundamental human rights that every living soul on this planet should inherit by birthright. It's an unyielding resistance against the oppressive, suffocating grip of occupation and the callous denial of the most basic human dignity. Just as the civil rights movement in the United States fought against the chains of racial discrimination, so too do the Palestinian people strive to shatter the chains of occupation and tyranny. Never forget, my friends, that the Palestinians, much like African Americans in the United States, have been subjected to a heart-wrenching history of suffering and torment. The birth of Israel in 1948 brought forth the mass expulsion and dispossession of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their ancestral homes and land. This is a historic injustice that continues to haunt the lives of Palestinians to this very day. The situation in Palestine serves as a brutal reminder of the consequences of colonialism and the ruthless dispossession of indigenous peoples. It is an agonizing reminder that the fight for justice knows no borders, and we must stand united in solidarity with all oppressed peoples, whether they reside in the United States, South Africa, or anywhere around the world. Let's be unequivocally clear. Advocating for the rights of the Palestinian people is not synonymous with denying the rights and security of the Jewish people. The fight for justice in Palestine is not an assault on any particular group, but an unwavering stand against the policies of a Zionist state that has for far too long stripped Palestinians of their rights. We must remember that numerous Jewish voices also resound in the calls for justice and peace in Palestine, and their voices must not be silenced. In our relentless pursuit of justice for the Palestinian people, we must also acknowledge that it is in the best interest of the entire world to seek a just and enduring solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It is a pursuit in the name of peace, stability, and the dignity of all mankind. But let me underscore this. The battle for justice in Palestine is not merely a political struggle, it's an elemental moral battle. It's the fight for the most basic human rights of a people who have suffered these injustices for far too long. It's the fight for the right to exist in peace and security, free from the ceaseless specter of violence and dispossession. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. I implore every person of conscience, regardless of their origins or beliefs, to stand steadfast with the Palestinian people in their unwavering quest for justice by any means necessary. Let us unite in building a world where every soul can live in freedom and dignity, where the rights of every individual are not just respected, but celebrated. The struggle for justice in Palestine is a universal fight, a resonating echo of the battles waged by oppressed people across the globe. It's a battle we must champion, a torch we must carry, and a legacy we must honor. Thank you, and free Palestine.
That's deep.
There's one single video that's responsible for leading over.
And we just gotta be real. We gotta be real about this, right? What did MLK say? An injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. Period. Hopefully I quoted him right, man. Hopefully I quoted him right. But we kind of got to remember that, right? Because, and this was one of the reasons why, when I talked about the word nigga, and and why people that we would consider non-sub-Saharan or non-black have grown more and more to identify themselves as that, as so. Meaning that you could hear that word flying amongst people and none of us are even around. And this is a lot of times even in other countries. But what you'll notice is typically the people who hold on, let me get off of that. Typically the people who use it are usually people of poverty. People who identify with poverty and people who identify with oppression. And which is one of the reasons why, and probably the main reason why, hip hop has become the #1 genre of music in the world. And when you really kind of think about why, is because think about what hip hop is at its core. At its core, it's the sound, the rhythm, and the voice of of people in the struggle and people in the oppression. So when you hear Malcolm say that, notice that he didn't just say we supposed to stand with all African people globally. Notice the approach that he took is with oppressed people. And I think that's where one of the things that Malcolm kind of understood about not only race relations but capitalism is that the people that we supposed to be that we really relate to the most are oppressed people. And one of the things that the media do a good job of is keeping poor and oppressed people hating each other in some sort of dispute, in some sort of conflict. And then they get you to do that, and then they'll have an election or put back things on the table that will force you to vote emotionally. Emotionally, right? And so when both sides end up voting, when you end up voting emotionally, what happens? 9 times out of 10, you end up voting against your best interest. You just end up voting against your best interest. So I think we gotta kind of remember that. And a lot of times we talk Malcolm, 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 but Malcolm was oppression first. That didn't sound like Malcolm was making a race first statement. That sounded like an oppression first statement. And as long as what goes on with the Palestinians is going on, with as hard as they fight, we gotta understand that could happen to us at any fucking moment, and people would justify that shit in their heart of why not to do nothing and why to keep going on the work and continuing doing whatever they doing, being entertained the next day. I know what we say. We ain't going for it. We ain't going for it, bro. If if don't nobody give a fuck, bro, it's only so much you can do. I'm just gonna be honest. And we watching that. Palestine is an example of that, bro. And they sliding, bro. They got people that sliding for them. And they still getting fucked up like that, bro.
Or for almost free, or we can go back to being the honest broker. I don't see any move back to, the good old days. What I see is both Democrats and Republicans deciding from a policy perspective to throw their lot in with Benjamin Netanyahu. And if you criticize Benjamin Netanyahu as a person, or you criticize Netanyahu's policies, you are now labeled as an anti-Semite. I can't tell you how many Jewish friends I have who don't like Netanyahu, who have been told that they're anti-Semites. How we got to this absurdity is a mystery to me.
Well, I think the word has lost all meaning now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I have friends who actually worked for Netanyahu and told me how corrupt he is. I mean, he's a war criminal. I think he's a demon. I think we know he's a war criminal. He's a wanted war criminal. I think he's a demon. And I have friends who worked for him say how corrupt he is. So you can call those people anti-Semites all you want. It's ridiculous.
Right.
We just got word of this, John. Israel, and Glenn Greenwald just posted this a few moments ago. Israel has repeatedly killed Americans in the West Bank, he says. They killed a U.S. journalist, and they first denied it, of course. Then video proved that they did, so they finally admitted it, just like they did with the medics. Now they just shot a 14-year-old American.
That's
Today,
right.
President
In the
Trump
West
will
Bank.
hold Netanyahu's... Exactly, in the West Bank. Today, Trump will hold Netanyahu's chair again for him at the table. So, again...
And remember a while back, they beat that 14-year-old boy that was from Pensacola. They thought he was just a regular. They just thought he was a regular Palestinian and beat the shit out of bruh. And they found out bro was an American citizen from from Pensacola, Florida and shit. Bro, ain't know nothing about that shit. He going home to go visit family and shit. He probably don't even fucking know and getting. I mean, I'm talking about bro, 14, bro. When I tell you that one of them was sitting on his head, beating his head. The other one was sitting on his back, beating him, bro. Oh shit, man, they doing dirty, bro.
Shot by a 14-year-old American, shot by IDF soldiers, and they knew, and they lied about it, and they covered it up. And we allow this to happen. Americans are just fine with this, and they'll just, you're an anti-Semite. We should kill Americans. We should kill babies. We should kill women. Like, oh, you're an anti-Semite. It just gives them beautiful cover. Or they're all Hamas. Oh, yeah. I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it. I'm just like so furious.
You remember Shireen Abu Akleh, of course, a year ago. And Shireen was the most respected and beloved journalist at Al Jazeera. She was an American citizen, and she was a Greek Orthodox Christian. She was wearing a bulletproof vest that said press on it. She was wearing a helmet that said press on it. And an Israeli sniper shot her in the face. And then at her funeral, a couple of days later, the IDF entered the church while the funeral was taking place. They attacked the pallbearers, forcing them to drop her coffin, and then fired tear gas into the church. And somehow, as Americans, we're all supposed to be okay with that.
I just don't even understand. I mean, this is why there's so many protests in Israel against Netanyahu. Like, this doesn't get played on American press at all.
You're right.
People do not like Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel.
Well, and may I add something on that point? You raise a very important point here. There are dozens of political parties in Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu happens to be the prime minister. He happens to be the leader of the Likud party. But he has never won more than 27% of the vote. Never. You're talking about 73% of Israelis who don't want him to be the prime minister. So why do we support him blindly?
I don't know. This is the great question. It's the great conundrum, John. But, you know, they'll label you an anti-Semite for telling the truth about it.
Yes, indeed.
Meanwhile, Israelis watching this massacre unfolding are also not supportive of this corrupt leader of this country. And yet President Trump is going to hold his chair again. And many of these MAGA influencers President Trump can do no wrong at all, will just go blindly along with, funneling billions of dollars into Israel, taking us to war in Iran. It's just absolutely disgusting. I hope people can wake up on this. John, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to vent today, because this has just been an infuriating weekend on this subject.
My pleasure. Thanks for educating so many people.
Oh, thank you, John. Great to see you.
I got in there and lost my mind. This is where
my pleasure.
Thanks, John. And I was just saying there, that Glenn Greenwald had just posted that a few minutes ago. Well, he just now posted this a few seconds ago. This video, I don't know if we can play it here or not, Philip, if you're able to take it.
I don't have your laptop, but it's not coming to me.
Oh, you don't? Okay, no worries. So anyway, just a few minutes ago, Benjamin Netanyahu just had the chair pulled out for him for President Trump. Once again. Now, he did that a few months ago, and he just did it again.
We will link to this in the newsletter tomorrow. We will discuss this as the week goes on. It looks to me like it is a begrudging gesture, and again points to the fact that something's not right with Trump's relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. Before he took office, he posted a video by Jeffrey Sachs calling him an evil person. We know that's true. What's happening? What is behind this? Why twice in 2 months of the second Trump term is Benjamin?
I'm going to get to one thing really quick before I close this out, because I want to go into that, right? Let's get into the Christian evangelicals.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. I want to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Israel is intensifying its assault against Hamas in order to get the return of the hostages. So far, they've destroyed a command post and taken out a Hamas leader in Lebanon. And right now, it appears Iran is beginning to weaken under pressure from the Trump administration. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
Israel is continuing its aggressive new policy to strike Hamas with growing force until the terror groups gives up the remaining hostages, disarms, and leaves Gaza.
We've attacked more than 600 terror targets throughout Gaza. We've eliminated more than 250 terrorists, including 12 senior members of the Hamas terrorist organization and in its government branch. All of them are terrorists. All of them took part in the October 7th massacre.
A new Israeli strategy is to gain control of more sections of Gaza if Hamas refuses to surrender the hostages. This leaves whole cities like Rafah cut off from the rest of Gaza, and Hamas is reportedly facing major problems inside its organization following Israeli assassinations of top leaders. Meanwhile, Iran is now reportedly pulling its forces out of Yemen amid the U.S. airstrikes. The bombing campaign is aimed to stop the Houthis from firing its ballistic missiles at Israel and shipping in the Red Sea. The Houthis have caused a severe disruption to global trade. President Trump says he believes the Iranians will come around to direct talks with the U.S. despite their public denials they won't talk to America. The White House is demanding Iran give up its nuclear program. Trump also says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu may come to Washington again as soon as next week. It's another sign of the improved relations since the Biden administration. Also in Washington, Senator Bernie Sanders continues his efforts to break off American military support for Israel. He put forth 2 bills to stop $8.8 billion worth of U.S. arms sales. Both bills were defeated by more than 80 votes worth of U.S. arms for 2 bills to stop $8.8 billion worth of U.S. arms.
Man, come on, bro. Come on, man. 8.8 billion. 8.8 billion, y'all. Man, Bernie be cooking, bro. Nigga be playing games, bro. Bernie Sanders be motherfucking cooking. And they be trying to act like this nigga dumb. That nigga pop up like, hey, bro, he the only one trying to block that shit. Like, hey, man, what the fuck we sending? If we really checking for money and try and make sure we ain't overspending, we ain't got no business sending they ass no $8.8 billion, bro. They need to get that shit off the fucking mud. That's the case.
Sales. Both bills were defeated by more than 80 votes against them. Still, 15 Democrats stood with efforts to stop the arms sales, and Axios reported the vote shows the divisions in the party over the war in Gaza at the Israeli government.
Killed that nigga by doing that 80 votes, bro. That's a body. That's what that is.
I was born here in Arizona. I was raised in upstate New York, in a small town. Once I hit 18 years old, I joined the Army.
Chris Mitchell joins us now with more. Chris, let's begin with an update on the fighting. How is it going both in Gaza and Lebanon?
Well, in Gaza, Israel is expanding its ground operation in the north. They want to expand Israel's buffer zone along the Gaza border. What they've done to do that is evacuate civilians in Gaza for their own safety. We know that Hamas has, since the beginning of the war, used those same civilians as human shields. Israel resumed this fighting after the ceasefire was over on March 17th. What they also did, Ephraim, is they targeted a senior Hamas commander in Lebanon. He was responsible for a number of attacks on Israeli civilians and IDF troops. And Hamas, even though it has a major significance, I mean, its stronghold is in Gaza, it still has a major and significant presence in Lebanon itself.
Chris, what light can you shed on the reports that there are divisions in Hamas?
Well, ever since the ceasefire, there's also been there's also been a wave of Israeli assassinations on many of these Hamas leaders. For example, the political bureau of Hamas used to have over 20 members. Now it has about 5 to 7 members. And what these assassinations have done, disrupted the chain of command there within Hamas. It's really left an organizational vacuum. Practically, it's delayed salary payments, also disrupted communications between many of these Hamas leaders. But the main thing they have now, regardless of all these things that have happened to the organization of Hamas, is they still have the main bargaining chips, which is many of the hostages, which gives them sort of a leverage over Israel. But Israel's policy right now is to put maximum military pressure on Hamas to be able to free the remaining hostages.
Shifting gears here right now, the 14th annual Jerusalem Marathon took place today. Did you put your running shoes on? Tell us more about that.
No, I didn't, but I walked a lot, Ephraim. Actually, they closed down many of the roads here in Jerusalem about 4:30 in the morning. Actually, when I went to go cover the marathon, I left around 5. I had to turn back, and I had to walk from my neighborhood all the way to the starting line, almost halfway across the city. And amazing event, though, Ephraim. 40,000 runners, about 2,000 from overseas. There were several races. There's a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a full marathon. And, the wonderful thing about the Jerusalem Marathon, now in its 14th year, throws any of thousands. Have an in-depth interview with Yigal Kaman. He's with Memory.org, and he talks about the dangers of Iran. And we finally have a story about a recently freed hostage who's spreading his message of hope through the main thing he likes to do, which is through music.
All right, Chris Mitchell, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, thank you so much. Always appreciate your insights. Looking forward to hearing you again next week. Want to remind you at home that you can see the latest from Jerusalem Dateline. It begins at 8 Eastern on the CBN News channel. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can find it on YouTube. Back here at home in the U.S., millions are under a flood watch after deadly tornadoes overnight. At least 7 people are dead following the tornadoes that tore through parts of the South and the Midwest, with more than a dozen water rescues that tore through parts of the South and the
Bro, you see that? Bro, you wake up and see that? Like, come on, man. What do you do next?
Midwest, with more than a dozen water rescues that happened in Tennessee. Less than an hour outside of Memphis, a man and his daughter were killed after a tornado hit their home. And in Arkansas, 2 people survived after their truck got stuck, one holding on to a pole while the tornado tore through that area.
The only thing I could do is just hold on to the pole and pray for the best.
I got up one time trying to run, and I couldn't. It almost sucked me up. I really thought I was going to die.
Wow. Well, today there is a
potential. Do them how they do us. Did y'all understand anything that they fucking said right then? I don't understand none of that shit.
Potential of up to 15 inches of rain falling in some areas, including parts of Kentucky and Missouri. For the first time since they arrived home, the NASA astronauts who were marooned aboard the International Space Station are talking publicly. Barry Butch Wilmore sat down for an exclusive interview. He told our Paul Petit about the experience and his faith that saw him through.
A homecoming, 9 months in the making. What's it like being home? What's it like being back at church?
Oh, my. I dreamed of this day, being back with family, my God-given family and my church family.
Astronaut Barry Butch Wilmore should have only been gone 8 days. Then technical problems resulted in 286 days aboard the International Space Station, a test of endurance and faith. You often spoke of your faith and God's sovereignty while in space. Why is that important to you?
He is Lord. He is Almighty God, and He is the one that came and paid the price for my sin, and that is the answer.
Wilmore says zero gravity kept him afloat, along with prayers from members of his home church in Pasadena, Texas.
It's not just important, it is everything. It is beyond important. Well-being
with fellow astronauts
as Lord.
Contact church members. Even singing Amazing Grace. Wilmore
led to existence, vital to my...
I'm calling cap on this shit, bro. Look at this shit, man.
Spiritual well-being.
Wilmore led church.
No, Nope. Nope.
existence, vital to my spiritual well-being.
Wilmore led church devotionals while in orbit.
Let's start here, bro. What the fuck are we looking at right there? Are y'all telling me that's a real picture? Is this real right here? Let's keep going.
Even singing Amazing Grace with fellow astronauts.
What the fuck is that, bro? What is that right there? What are we looking at? Is this real? Because I've seen UFO sightings that look realer than this, yo. Is this supposed to be real? See, man, this where the motherfucking flat earthers be cooking y'all niggas right here, man. Shit like this.
Together with church members.
Come on, bro. What is this, man? What is this?
The chance to share the gospel and proclaim Christ Jesus as Lord is the driver.
Standing by for initial contact of Dragon to the International Space Station.
As for the rescue mission, Wilmore ended up opening the hatch when SpaceX docked with the space station.
I told Deanna, my wife, she's sitting back right here, right, by the way. I told her several times, we're getting excited. You getting excited? I'm like, no, I'm not getting excited because it ain't happening until it happens.
It happened. Wilmore and fellow astronaut Sonny Williams splashed down 17 hours later.
So I just stood up and got over there and got on the slide board, kind of slid out on my own. Not because of bravado, just because I was ready to get out and get moving.
NASA is paying Wilmore and Williams overtime for their extended time in space, $5 a day.
President Trump has said that he's going to see that you are compensated. What's your thought?
Did they just say they getting overtime, bro? And that they overtime pay was finna be $5 a day? Bro, what type of insulting ass shit is that, bro? I know they ain't mean to say that. He had
Thoughts on that? President Trump has said
extended time in space, $5 a day.
President Trump has said that he's going to see that you are compensated. What's your thoughts on that?
Praise the Lord. I like a little extra cash.
Wilmore says he's content with his pay while he takes it one day at a time. He's now undergoing 45 days of testing and rehab to adjust back to Earth's gravity.
What I used to do 8 hours, I got like an hour and a half, and I'm spent.
But Wilmore has plenty of energy to share his faith, a faith tested over months in space.
8 days turned into 9 months. Mm-hmm. How do you put it in perspective?
Lord's plan and his purpose. I'm okay with it, whatever. Is it my plan? No. But my plans are not usually the good plans or the right plans, and the Lord's always are, regardless of what takes place.
Coming up, some good news. Americans are living even longer. The bad news, though, caring for our aging population could lead to a national health crisis. We got the story.
Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day.
Here's what you can expect to pay for your tax prep.
Wait, this is backwards. My last tax guy only ever told me the price after he was.
I really just wanted y'all to see how they're producing the news.
I'm 40 and pay maybe $300 a month, and now I'm 50 and it's $700 a month, and now I'm 60 and it's $1,000 a month, and now I'm 70 and it's $2,000 a month.
Saturday, America's leading basketball college teams will square off in the Final Four, followed by the championship game. That's going to happen on Monday. But it is not all fun and games. Americans are wagering more than $3 billion on March Madness this year. Medical reporter Lori Johnson.
I ain't worried about that shit. We up over that. So, yeah. Let me see, man. Let me see what we can get.
Let's pop up this live image that we do have over Lebanon at this hour as a senior U.S. envoy visited Beirut Saturday amid that fragile ceasefire with Israel and pressure to rein in the Hezbollah terror group. Morgan Ortagus met with Lebanon's president, prime minister, and the Speaker of Parliament, emphasizing the need for the Lebanese army to assert control over all Lebanese territory. Lebanon's president describing the discussion as quote-unquote constructive. Israel, by the way, does maintain control over 5 strategic hilltops in southern Lebanon. The IDF also releasing a statement here just a short time ago. Let me pop that up for you on your screen, saying that the IDF has eliminated some terrorists there. Quote, a short time ago, an IAF, or Air Force aircraft, struck 2 Hezbollah terrorists who were operating an engineering vehicle in southern Lebanon. The terrorists were struck while attempting to rebuild Hezbollah terror infrastructure sites. Again, that statement from the Israel Defense Forces coming in a short time ago. A lot to discuss, no question here, so I do want to bring in David Dowd, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defensive Democracies with a focus on Israel, Lebanon, and Hezbollah. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us as always.
Pleasure to be here, Josh. It's been a while.
It definitely has been a while. And David, I did want to start out by talking about that visit from the U.S. envoy there over to Lebanon, meeting with a lot of big names like the president, prime minister, speaker of parliament. What does all of that say about the relationship between the two? What can you gauge from that?
Well, we are a partner with Lebanon officially. We do give aid to the LAF. I think the posture of the Trump administration is to continue the traditional support that the United States has had for Lebanon and for its official institutions. This visit, I think, is there to reinforce that and also to get Lebanon to act on some of its obligations where we've seen dereliction, namely under Resolution 1701, the November 27th ceasefire with Israel. We also want to see economic reforms. We want to make sure that the investment that we're pouring into Lebanon, be it military aid or otherwise, is having the intended effect. And one of the priorities we have in Lebanon is obviously disarming Hezbollah.
In its current form, talking about disarming Hezbollah, how strong are Hezbollah's military capabilities now, let's say, than they were maybe weeks, months ago, even back in October of 2023?
Well, we're talking about a different organization fundamentally. We're talking about a very humbled and subdued organization relative to October of 2023, relative to a few months ago. The Israeli Defense Forces have said that they've destroyed something like 80% of Hezbollah's strategic arsenal, killed 30% of its fighting forces, and critically, its elite political and military cadres. We're talking about an organization that is now in the process of trying to regenerate, trying to regroup, lick its wounds, and find a path to regeneration and resurgence, one that won't happen in the near future. Now, that doesn't mean that Hezbollah is down for the count. That doesn't mean that Hezbollah is entirely inactive. You mentioned earlier an Israeli strike in South Lebanon, attacking a Hezbollah operative trying to renovate Hezbollah infrastructure in the area. We see strikes like this on an definitely a weekly basis, but sometimes on an almost daily basis throughout Lebanon. This suggests to me that Hezbollah is still active within Lebanon, still trying to regain its footing, despite the fact that it took a monumental and unprecedented drubbing from the Israelis in the war that lasted from October of 23 until November of 2024.
You and I have discussed this countless times, but I just want to explain for people out there. Can you explain really how the people of Lebanon feel about Hezbollah, the terror group there, as a whole?
Well, I think you're speaking about different Lebanons. As I've mentioned before, I would say, according to polling, the overwhelming majority of Lebanese at this point, if we're talking about all Lebanese, have an unfavorable view of Hezbollah. But that's not the critical point, because Lebanon is divided up like a sectarian pie. And Hezbollah only cares to really dominate or have control over its slice of the pie, the Shiite slice of the pie, if you will. And what we've seen, polling in September of 2024 showed that 85% of Lebanese Shiites support Hezbollah. Now, some people said that waned with the subsequent intensification of the war between Israel and Hezbollah and the destruction that brought upon the Shiite community. They bore the brunt of this. But then Hezbollah stages Nasrallah's funeral in February 23rd of 2025. And according to Information International, this is a Beirut-based consultancy company, something like 690,000 to 900,000 people attended that funeral. They mapped out the square footage. They assessed how many people could stand per square meter, rather. And they assessed that, based on footage and everything that they had available, something like 900,000 people came out. That's not an...
If you notice what they're doing, bro, they are literally right now making a case for why innocent people could be killed. Because what they're saying is that majority of the population there is standing with Hezbollah. 909,000 people had to, bro, them folks probably didn't want to fucking show up to that fucking funeral, bro. You know what I mean? Them people probably got forced. Nigga, it was either show up or get your goddamn head knocked off. And you sitting over here trying to build a case against them, bro, you foul as shit for that. And we see through you. I think we in a good space to end this. Good timing. I think you just gotta ask yourself at the end of the day. Power to the dark side. What's good with you and y'all, mate? Shout out to the Sith Lord. I'm finna jump over there, man, on Psycho channel and cook Domo. I think Domo should be over there. I'm finna cook this nigga Domo. Let me start by saying that. But I think in general, man, I'm gonna end it by just saying that if you are somebody who holds Malcolm's words in high regards, then you have to sit and ask yourself, do you stand with the oppressed or do you stand with the oppressor? And I think that's a good space to end it on. Make that decision, you know what I'm saying? What are you gonna stand on? You know what I mean? Is you with the oppressor? And he made it very clear. He didn't beat around the bush. He made it very clear that we're supposed to not only stand with Palestine, South Africa, and oppression that we see anywhere in the world. You know what I mean? And our fight goes hand in hand. Hand in hand. And, we'll see that. That being said, man, power to the dark side family. I appreciate everybody that tapped in. We shall be back for another one. Another one. Definitely another one. Peace.